I've literally done it. Only one problem with this is, well, one of the most recent comments that I got, somebody had asked if I would do a recap on everything that I've done back here, because they're getting ready to do the same exact thing. So it's exactly what I'm gonna do for this video. I'm gonna talk you through everything that I've done to get us to this point. And I think we can stop calling it trash grass. It's graduated to a backyard. So here we go. First thing that I did, I had to till up what was left back here. The previous homeowners, they started the job of tilling out all of the old grass to put in new grass, but they didn't finish. They got about 2/3 of the way done. So I had to go and rent a tiller to come in here and just really rip up and tear out everything that was already here. Once I did that, I started to level out all the dirt that I tilled up, but I didn't really go heavy into that because I knew that I was gonna have topsoil coming in a few weeks later, and everything that I tilled up, it would just kind of start to settle down anyway. So I didn't really level out everything that I tilled up. I did a little bit just to kind of see where everything was at. But like I said, I didn't really go heavy at it. Next thing that I did was I had to dig up the old sprinkler system. So I started chasing down all the old lines, ripping those out, trying to make a plan and get an idea of how many zones I was gonna have on my existing sprinkler system, and take off the old control box, put in a new one. So that's what I did. Now, as I've mentioned in that video, I did it very backwards. I should have dug the trench first and then ran my lines. And the reason you wanna do that is once you've dug your trench and you start running your lines, when you get to a spot where you wanna put a sprinkler head, you can simply just cut off the line, put in your T, run your swing pipe up to where that head needs to go, and continue on down the line. That way you get your sprinkler heads exactly where you need them. Some of mine aren't exactly where I wanted them to be, so I'm gonna have to fix that in the future, but for now, it works for me. That'll also reduce the amount of swing pipe that you have to run from your lines, or the little T in your line, up to your sprinkler head. Just reduces on material. So definitely trench first, then run your lines. Once I had all my sprinkler heads connected, they were in place, I then brought in topsoil. And I didn't bring in topsoil to create a nice soil bed for the sod that I brought in. I brought it in so that I could level out this backyard, because it was all over the place as far as being bumpy and hills and valleys. It was hideous. So I brought the topsoil in so that I could level it all, and most importantly, so that when the sod came in and I laid it, it could be even with all of my concrete pads, the one over there and the one that I'm currently standing on. So brought all that in, leveled it out the best I could, and it was kind of in vain, because after I brought in the topsoil, we had a week straight of rain, and then temperatures dropped. We had a bit of snow, so all the topsoil that I brought in to level it out, yeah, it created some hills and valleys still. So it wasn't perfectly level, but I brought it up to where, again, when I brought the sod in and laid it down, it was even with my pavement or concrete. The pavement, this is pavement, concrete, whatever. It was even with this stuff. Next up was getting a soil test. Most important thing you can do in your lawn is getting a soil test. The reason for that is I wanted to know where my soil was at that the sod was gonna grow into. I want to know exactly what kind of fertilizer I'm gonna need to correct issues or give the soil what it needs so that the sod can really thrive. All right, here comes the controversial part. After throwing down the topsoil, after doing my soil test, I sprayed a pre-emergent. A lot of people say that's a bad idea. Think about what a pre-emergent does. It prevents things from growing. So putting a pre-emergent down and then putting sod down, probably not the best idea, because it could stop the roots from the sod from driving down into the soil, establishing itself, and you've got, I'm gonna say it, trash grass. To help combat that, one of the guys in the lawn forum, Mr. J. Lavu, I don't know how to say it. You know who you are. He pointed me in the direction of a product called the Subvert Prefix 100, which helps overcome the clubbing effect of most pre-emergent herbicides. Root clubbing, that's what I was trying to say, helps overcome the root clubbing effect of most pre-emergent herbicides. And while it's only been 14 days since I've sprayed it, or almost 14 days, I can't really make a claim, but I mean, look at it. So You decide. But generally speaking, you don't want to spray a pre-emergent and put seed or sod down because it's just not going to establish itself. It's not going to break through that pre-emergent, drive down in the soil, and you got a mess on your hands. After doing all of that, the sod finally gets here. We rolled it down and we've got instant grass. One tip I'll give you about sod, don't throw it down like this. You want to stagger it like that. It just helps it grow in better, and just staggering the seams like that, making that kind of a pattern. In my experience, this is like the third or fourth time I've had to lay sod. It works better this way. Also, make sure that your seams are tight. You don't want to have this kind of a number going on. You want to pull them together as tightly as possible all the way through when you're laying the sod down. Last thing you want to do is have an open seam and just have all sorts of nastiness growing in between that seam and the sod not seaming together. That wouldn't be fun. You don't want that. Tighten your seams, stagger them. So this brings us to where we are right now, nurturing what we got. After I put the sod down, I've been watering like crazy, up to 3 to 4 times a day for about 10 minutes each time. Keep traffic off of it. Definitely been yelling at the kids to get off my lawn. Not out here playing on it or walking on it. Only time I've come out here to walk on it is when I've had to hand water some dry spots that are kind of struggling, but other than that, just stay off of it, water it like crazy. So let's talk about my soil test and what kind of fertilizer I'm gonna use back here. So here's the soil test. As you can see, the pH is high. It's a 7.7, and ideally we would want a 6.2. Not only that, you can see that the calcium is it's high. It's really high. So in order to help lower the pH and lower that calcium, we're going to hit it with elemental sulfur, ammonium sulfate, and sulfate of potash. The elemental sulfur will do about 7 pounds per thousand for the months of May, so now in June. The ammonium sulfate, we're gonna use that for our nitrogen source, and we're gonna calculate to where we're only gonna put about 4 pounds for the entire season back here. The sulfate of potash, that's what we're gonna use for our potassium source when we go to put down our nitrogen source. So between those three, that's what we're gonna use back here to get this thing really rocking and rolling, surviving and thriving. So where am I gonna get elemental sulfur, ammonium sulfate, and sulfate of potash? About an hour and a half northwest of me is a farmer's co-op where they sell all those raw materials. I reached out to them, I said, what is it gonna cost to get some of this? They said, we only sell it in bulk. I asked, okay, well, can you define bulk for me? Does that mean I'm gonna have to get pallets of this stuff and just kind of keep it at my house and use it here and there, or what does that mean? They reached out and said, you bag your own, it's 20 cents per pound. So I bought 50-pound bags off Amazon. I'll drive my little happy self an hour and a half northwest of here, bag up that stuff, bring it back here, and it only cost me 20 cents a pound. I'm all for that. Now, disclaimer here, I didn't come up with all that on my own. I've got a really good friend who's very knowledgeable in the industry. Matter of fact, he's really knowledgeable in the ag industry. He's a huge dirt nerd. He looked at my soil analysis and he said this is what I would need to attack it with to help balance things out. He also mentioned if I wanted to put lipstick on this, to just get a granular humic and put that down on here, find some granular micros if I wanted to, but really between those three, that's all I should need back here. So there you go. That's how we got to this point right here. I hopefully here very soon we'll be able to give this thing a cut because it's growing like crazy. I'll also cut back on the watering after this weekend. I won't have to hit it 3 to 4 times a day. I can probably just go every other day on the watering schedule, and yeah, just go into maintenance mode because it's looking pretty good, I must say. It's graduated from trash grass to backyard. Well done. Hope you liked this recap video. Let me know what other questions you have in the comments section below. Hit that thumbs up if you liked the video. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications bell so you're informed every time I upload a new video. I appreciate everyone watching, commenting on all my videos. It really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate all of you so very much. Keep on keeping on, and I will see you in the next one.